It's very good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Choy. Let's start our newscast. Our top story this evening: Pyongyang was never interested in a face-to-face meeting between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Hee-ho, the widow of former late South Korean President Kim Dae-jung. That's what a senior unification ministry official had to say in response to criticism that the South Korean government did not try hard enough to arrange such a meeting for Yi during her 4-day visit to the North last week. He reportedly asked for a meeting with the regime's leader, but the answer was no. Another government official said it isn't appropriate to gauge the significance of Yi's trip on whether she met Kim or not, since she went there for humanitarian purposes. Yi had maintained that she was visiting the North as a private citizen and had not been assigned any governmental duties. Korea and the members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have developed both a chairman's statement and joint communique aimed at preventing North Korea from further provocative acts, including ballistic missile launches and nuclear weapons development. Korea's foreign ministry said Sunday that, unlike last year, the statements specifically list North Korea as a threat. The statements urge Pyongyang to stop its provocations and fully abide by the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. The statements also called on the regime to return to the six-party talks aimed at denuclearizing North Korea. The six-party talks, including the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, have been stalled since the year 2008. The statements were released following a series of ASEAN-led foreign ministers' meetings in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, last week. Moving on to other stories, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has failed to include any sort of apology in his draft statement commemorating the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. The statement is slated to be issued Friday. Our Kim Yeon-bin tells us more.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has shared a draft of this upcoming statement, marking the 70th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II. But there are no signs of an apology. According to Japanese daily Asahi Shimbun, the draft includes the word remorse for the war, but does not include the word apology. Abe reportedly showed the draft to the ruling Liberal Democratic Party and junior coalition partner Komito on Friday. He reportedly said that he would inherit as a whole the statements issued by former Prime Minister Tomichi Murayama and Junichiro Koizumi to mark the 50th and 60th anniversaries of the end of the war. The Komito Party reportedly requested a revision to the draft, emphasizing the need for an apology for Japan's colonial rule during the war. The newspaper added that Abe responded by acknowledging he had heard their opinions. The report mentioned that a final draft of the statement is expected after a meeting of Abe and his cabinet sometime this week. The Korean government has urged Tokyo on numerous occasions to carry on the statements drawn up by Murayama and former Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoi Kono, both of which included a clear apology to the victims of Japan's sexual slavery program before and during World War II. Abe's statement is expected this week on August 14th, the day before the 70th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II. Kim Yeon-bin, ASEAN News.
Meanwhile, the mayor of the Japanese city of Nagasaki has urged the government to engage in careful and sincere deliberations on a series of security bills currently moving through parliament. In an address at the 70th anniversary of the U.S. bombing of the city, Mayor Tomihisa Taue said the peaceful path Japan has pursued in the past 70 years should never be changed. If the new bills are made into law, Japan would be allowed to engage in armed conflicts overseas for the first time in 70 years since the end of World War II. Japanese experts view the security legislation pushed by the Shinzo Abe administration unconstitutional. Hiroshima and Nagasaki are the only cities in the world devastated by the atomic bomb. Korea has denied a Japanese media report that the U.S. asked President Park Geun-hye not to attend a ceremony in China next month celebrating its victory over Japan in World War II. A foreign ministry official said Sunday the report is not true and emphasized that a situation like that would never happen. Earlier, Kyodo News had reported, citing anonymous U.S. government and diplomatic sources, that the U.S. urged President Park not to attend the September 3rd ceremony in Beijing. Kyoto added that Washington had contacted its embassy in Seoul and used other diplomatic channels to express concern about the Korean leader's possible attendance. The ministry official said President Park's attendance has not yet been determined. The worst of the MERS outbreak here in Korea may be over, but its impact is still being felt by small business owners. New data shows their numbers have nosedived as they are squeezed out of business by sluggish consumption and tight competition. Kim Ji-yeon looks into the digits and more.
The number of small businesses run by self-employed individuals in Korea has dropped to its lowest level in 20 years. Most of these are mom-and-pop stores in the food, retail, and lodging sector. They're running out of business, largely affected by the sluggish domestic consumption fueled by the MERS outbreak earlier this year. They're also being squeezed out by big retail stores and distribution chains and increased competition amongst themselves. In the January to June period, Statistics Korea says the number dropped by 107,000 from the same period last year to under 4 million. In response, the government says it's devising measures to increase support for self-employed business owners. For one thing, the Small and Medium Business Administration is revitalizing its Hope Return package, designed to help people who are closing their businesses find new jobs. Under the program, small business owners with annual sales of less than $129,000 are eligible to receive employment counseling and financial aid. The state-run agency has also increased the amount of financial aid for those in the program from around $515 to a maximum of $644. The measure was devised to accommodate 10,000 applicants, but fewer than 520 people applied during the January to June period. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy has introduced a bill aimed at reforming the ownership structure of the country's family-run conglomerates, or chaebols, amid a public backlash over an escalating family feud for control of Lotte Group. The bill, a revision to the country's fair trade law introduced by Shin Ha-kyung and nicknamed the Lotte Law, bans intra-company shareholding among a company's overseas units. The NPAD, the ruling Saenuri Party, and the government have all expressed a desire for such reforms. The country's existing fair trade law bans new cross-shareholding arrangements, but not existing ones. So a revision that would compel the chaebol to reduce their existing cross-shareholding arrangements was deemed necessary. The government says it's set to launch an underwater survey of the sunken Sewol ferry, which claimed more than 300 lives when it sank more than a year ago, as it prepares to create a plan for salvaging that vessel. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries said Sunday the one-week process will begin on August 23rd and will involve a remotely operated vehicle alongside professional divers. Last week, the government signed a $73 million deal with a consortium led by China's state-run Shanghai Salvage to raise the ship. They aim to complete the salvaging process by next July. The Korean public's trust in the government has risen, but is still low when compared with other members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. According to a new report by the OECD titled Government at a Glance report for this year, only 34% of Koreans surveyed said that they trust the government, putting Korea at 26th among 41 nations in that category. This indicates Korea needs to do more to address breaches of integrity by public officials and help win back citizens' trust. The average level of trust in government among OECD member countries was 41.8% in 2014. That's down from 45.2% in 2007, according to Gallup World Poll data. On the bright side, though, Korea led the way in accessibility of government data for public use. Shifting gears now, it's summer vacation season here in Korea, which means it's time to get away from work and leave all your cares behind. But if you're still not decided on where to go, there's a forested park on Jeju-do Island where you could find the peace of mind you need. Our Won Ji-hyun tells us more.
A forest full of deciduous trees. It's the Kojawa Forest, located on the mid-slopes of Hallasan Mountain on Jeju-do Island. This forest was naturally formed on volcanic rocks when the lava from Hallasan cooled off hundreds of years ago. Now, about 10% of the unique forest has been transformed into a recreation park thanks to a project by the Jeju Free International City Development Center. It took the team 6 years to build winding trails and rest areas in the forest so that visitors can closely experience its natural wonders.
Here in Jeju, most of the trees in the area are called thorn trees.
Kochawal is also unique in that it's the only place in the world where tropical and polar plants coexist. Its well-preserved ecosystem is also a sanctuary for wild animals.
I just saw a roe deer at a very close range. I was also able to hear many bird calls that I've never heard before. I definitely felt rejuvenated here.
The park has 5 different walking trails, which add up to about 6.5 kilometers altogether. There's also an eco-learning center near the park to remind visitors about the true value of Kochawal.
In addition to providing natural oxygen for Jeju residents, we hope that the Kochawal Park will become a place of healing for visitors.
Won Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
And now for a quick look at the weather before we let you go. You'll want to dress light or abide by the cool biz look if you need to punch in for work. We're expecting another scorcher of a week here in Korea. Seoul will get up to 33 degrees Celsius on Monday. Daegu will reach 34 and Gwangju all the way to 33. By the middle of the week, you won't want to leave home without your umbrella as we have some rain in the forecast nationwide. That's all for Korea. Let's take a look at the weather conditions outside of Korea, around the world. And we've come to the end of our newscast. Thank you so much for watching. Here's wishing you a smooth transition to a new week.